pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming in this evening. Tonight, to open up, we're going to be introducing our finance advisory appointments. They will be completing all the necessary paperwork in the coming days. Then we'll go in to discuss local approval for septic designs and the code enforcement / fire chief committee discussion, some old new business, a dry run of our police renovation presentation that's slated for next week, and a non-public for some personnel issues. Alright, to start things out, I'd like to thank our finance advisory for coming in. Luke, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah, we have Joe Woodworth and Mitch Gluck and Dennis Howe. Good evening, gentlemen. So if you would, maybe just take a minute just to say hello to the people that are watching out there, and if you want to start things off, Dennis.
The dry run again.
Yeah.
Do we come up here?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just do a real quick bio. I'm Dennis Howe. I live in New Ipswich on Old Beaver Road, and I'm very pleased to be asked to join the committee. I bring to the table many years of budget development and experience in the federal government, and I am really looking forward to working with the entire team.
Excellent, thank you.
Anything else?
And I like how you already started too. I saw that initial spreadsheet that came through.
Oh, you stole it. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank
I
you.
didn't see that.
Yeah. Well, it's just
He's
he's already hard at work.
I jumped into stuff.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Mitch.
My name is Mitch Gluck, and I also want to thank the council for asking me to take the opportunity to help with the budget. I'm looking forward to the work. I'm retired. My wife and I and our children and our grandchildren moved here more or less the same time, about 3 years ago. I'm a retired hospital administrator and university professor, and I've had lots of years of experience in doing budgets, both in the private sector and also in the public sector, with the last 10 years being involved as an administrator for the County of San Diego. So I'm looking forward to this. This will be good work and enjoyable work, and I hope that I can contribute to what you want as goals.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Joe?
Alright, good afternoon.
Joe,
Woodworth.
and you weren't allowed to say no.
Yeah, I thought that was an honest effort too. I can do better, but not today. So my name is Joe Woodworth. I've been in New Ipswich since 2004, camp owner on Pratt Pond. I moved up here full time in 2017, had a place on Page Hill Road. Figured I'd volunteer some of my time to see if I can help out the town, give some thanks back to the town. I work for Hewlett Packard Enterprise. I'm not retired yet. I'm looking forward to that day, but I don't want to get too old too fast. But I'll make some time, and hopefully I can contribute.
Excellent, awesome, thank you, glad to have you.
Thanks.
Hey Luke,
Hey Sean.
how's it going?
Good. Hey, I'm Luke Moran. I'm happy and willing to serve the town. I've been a lifelong resident, actually born in the town of Ipswich, so
Awesome.
definitely home. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do to make things easier for the volunteers in town.
Cool.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks for joining, Luke.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you gentlemen answering the call, to serve the town. It means, a lot to us and the entire community. We look forward to working on the budget with you guys and developing our plan of how to conduct our budget for the years, coming. So just, thank you very much, for myself, the board, and
second that
and the community members.
this has been something that's been wanted my whole time here.
Yeah,
Is even this team will be a definite asset for us.
I'm excited. So, and again, just to stress on the point that we're going to be developing like a new system that we look to utilize in years coming. So whether or not you serve on the board, you're going to be leaving a footprint this year that'll last beyond yourselves. So thank you very much.
And as far as structuring the board,
Mm-hmm.
I think the ball will be in your guys' court. How often you meet, correct?
Yeah, and we'll work through that together. Just to kind of, if you guys have questions. Yep, but largely, like Jason said, the ball will be in your court. But don't hesitate to reach out and don't be shy. Like if you're looking for a meeting and you haven't heard from the other members, because sometimes the initial communication can be difficult. But I'd encourage you to kind of start a text thread or an email thread just to kind of start working together. And it's always easiest if there's one point person to like address either Debbie or the board. But if you all want to operate individually, that's up to you too. So you just have a meeting of how you guys want to structure your committee.
Do you know if there's any RSAs governing whether there needs to be minutes taken or?
You do, there is,
So
yeah,
pretty much gonna have to structure the
yeah,
board,
so
secretary,
whenever you meet.
chairman.
you'll have to
And that's
post
where
an
I'm wondering if
agenda.
that can be done on there. Or would you like to help? Or be a part of the structuring of it when it?
Well, it's up to the four of y'all. Like if you can get together and figure out who's going to take on what role or what support you need, just let us know. So if it seems like it's troublesome and you're having issues, setting up that structure, the initial structure, just reach right out and we'll help you figure it out and fill in any gaps. Please don't feel like you have to untake any undue pressure. Like if someone's not really strong in a certain role or a task, talk to your fellow committee members and just talk it out. And if it's something that neither of the four of you would like to undertake or don't understand how to do, reach right out to Debbie or Jason or I, and we'll try to steer you in the right direction.
Awesome.
All right. Good. Cool. Thanks for coming in.
Yes, so I'll send out an email to you guys tomorrow, see when you can come in and take your oaths, and I'll also need the I can reprint them if you didn't print them or bring them or whatever, whatever's convenient for you. So I'm still the town clerk tax collector, so I can swear you guys all in.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a sense, or do you know when you might have a sense of the timeline for the process, due dates, milestones, and all that?
Yeah, because even on paper, you're supposed to fill out when you're doing what-ish. So I just put 2022, 2023.
Yeah, because we didn't even discuss like how long the terms are gonna be. Is it gonna be a year or is it gonna be staggered, or like one person's 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
I guess we have a little more discussion we have to do on
Okay.
how we're arranging that. But I mean, if you guys want to have like an initial meeting and set up, I mean, I can, I have everybody's emails and I can, say if you guys say you want to meet, next Thursday at 2:00 or whatever, I can, we can meet and I can kind of help you and however you want to do it.
That might be helpful. I know I have some initial
Just to
questions,
start
just to get
off.
started,
Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of give you guys an idea too, like there's no real past knowledge. Like I have the longest knowledge, so I've sat through 2 budget cycles. Both had issues in their own rights, and I knew that we wanted to make some changes like for this year. That's why this is so new. So it's essentially all of us working to develop this process going forward. Like as far as when we should start, I feel like we should be, middle September, like is kind of late in my mind because the weeks get away from you really quick, and deadlines start coming really fast. So if you have any holdups or issues, there's not much room for that.
A lot of it is dependent on the department heads
Right.
as well.
Yep.
Because what can you do until you see what they need?
Right.
So
Is there a due date for them in terms of submitting their proposed budget?
if you tell us
Yeah.
to command a due date, I think we have the authority.
Cause Debbie has all the state, deadlines,
Yeah.
so that would be good for you guys to get together with her, and then you guys can start making that schedule.
Right.
Yeah,
Alright,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll send out an email to all the department heads, let them know that the finance advisory committee has been chosen. You guys are all ready to go, and have you budget into me by whatever day, or to you guys, or both. However, I'm not
Yeah.
even sure how we're
Yeah,
doing
no,
it. It's my first budget cycle other than making a budget as a department head, but so so I'll check with the DRA and everything and get all the important dates of when we have to have certain numbers by, but most of the process is getting the department head information, any questions you have, getting what, do you really need this,
Right.
well, this is what we had last
Baseline.
year, that type of thing.
right.
And just going through their budgets line item by line item and understanding their needs. And then at the end of the whole thing, we put everything together and hopefully it works.
And we like it to be less than the last year.
yeah, which is true, so we've been trying to like have a flat tax rate, if not a reduction. So we started tracking how much we could, give back. We've been working on a fund balance policy so that we don't retain too many tax dollars, but enough to get us through, or there's money for that, a big event that may happen, an emergency or whatnot, so we can get through that.
And the state requires you have a certain cushion in your fund balance.
Yeah,
Which is
That you
basically your
can't
check
dip below.
balance.
Right.
I've learned that's December 31st, except for outstanding checks or encumbrances. Whatever money is left, that's the fund balance.
yeah,
And we have really two ways to use that, isn't there? We can either give some back or use it for an emergency fund, which is
correct.
spelled out.
But we have to go through the state for approval for that, so right now, I think last year, we'd given back around $300,000, I think we were on par for about the same, this year, from what was left over last year. So what we're trying to do is kinda have like that flat tax rate, and then even now with inflation so high, not overburdening the community. So I'm gonna be asking all of the department heads to trim all of their budgets and really take out any excess we've been trying to get them to do it like a zero-based budget, even though there is some copying like from the payroll amounts and things like that, and not everybody quite caught on last year, or would like to try to tighten the ship up a little bit that way this year, so that they build their budget from zero, so that every line is in question. If they haven't spent it last year, not going to give it again this year unless there is a really good reason why that wasn't expended, because the best way to keep the taxes down is not to tax them in the first place. And then like I said, with inflation rates going up and everybody's having to tighten their belts at home, it'd really help if the town, we could do that too, the town office and the town departments. Yes, sir.
Do you usually build in COLA or cost of living allowances to salaries and things like that? Or
Yes.
is it- okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I guess we need some authoritative direction on what the COLA levels would be.
Yep. And
I
right-
think probably not the current rate of
Yeah.
inflation.
Maybe not,
Right.
but yeah.
So kind of where we're at and something that's new into this year that you guys are gonna be coming into as well is wage scales, for the different departments.
Right.
And trying to straighten out all of that so that it makes their hiring process a little bit easier if they have to go out and do all that advertising. They know what they have to work with exactly, and it's not so fluid for those departments, because in the past it's we've had these pretty low baselines, and if someone stays for 10 years, it's almost like the whole thing resets no matter how much experience the new person coming in has. It's this want to start them right at that the lowest tier. But so this will be a little bit more spelled out, and I think what we had shot for before, was 2.5% COLA raises, so still modest, you know, but again, we're trying to operate not like typical government agencies and provide absolutely everything. Like we all, you know, work hard for our money, and all of our employees work hard too, so they definitely deserve to be treated right, but then trying not to get that excess point.
Right.
Yeah, so, and we'll be looking for input from you gentlemen as well, you know, like through the process if we've missed somewhere or we're not seeing something. I really appreciate that input in both ways, you know, like if it's like we're not, you know, allowing enough, you know, for one department or too much in another, we need to know all like those things.
Absolutely.
Yep.
When are the department heads required to document any variances, whether they're positive or negative variances from what their budget was? And, you know, if they went over budget or if they went under budget, is there any record or documentation as to what the variances are due to?
So what we've started to ask our clerk and the department heads was if there was something unforeseen that they needed, but it was within their budget, because all the departments have pretty much operated well within their budget over the years, which is excellent. But not to just take it from a line without any explanation.
Right.
So that you don't see any of those over expenditures, because if there's, say, the fuel line is over expended, I'd rather see that fuel line in the true expenditure than buried in some other number, because then they become trained into utilizing their total dollar number instead of really focusing on the detail of each line.
I saw the accounting lines, they were broken out fairly well.
Yep.
To identify, you know, operating costs in terms of people or, you know, supplies or, you know, fuel or whatever, electricity. So that's good.
And I'm sure you've been looking at it, so you've probably seen some of the departments where it doesn't quite follow the same, like each
Right.
one's not set up the same.
Right.
So I think a part of, you know, if you guys are willing to, you know, undertake the task is to clean up that whole system so the budget's easier to read as a whole. And you go department to department and everything kind of lines up, so your eyes don't get, you know, all blurred out from, you know, why is health insurance, you know, line 12 on this one when it's line 2 on the other one, things like that,
Right.
or missing when they have it, and then you find
I
out, well,
found a
we've
few,
been
yeah.
using this,
Right.
like, yeah.
I found that's easy to explain.
Will you all be sharing with us any specific concerns that you all have about the budget as it has been in 2022? Areas that you want us to focus in on, or?
Sure. Yeah, complete open communication, you know, from this board, to your committee. That's, you know, communication's key in every relationship, and, you know, so we really believe in that, like on this board.
But as to specifics, I don't have one offhand. Some great concern of needs to be fixed, you know, from last year. And I felt that I've gone through one budget cycle.
Yep.
And the department heads were fantastic to work with. They would answer you even if it wasn't a happy thing to answer about, but it was. Last year it would.
Yep.
Very much so.
And they definitely are prepared, they have backup for everything, you know, cause over the last, you know, probably 5 years, like that backup aspect's been hammered in pretty good.
Good.
So they're all, you know that they need to bring backup for everything that they wanna, you know, money for. You know, and, you know, for my concerns, like in any one line, not so much, but just the budget as a whole, and making sure everything's where it's supposed to be and where it needs to be. Cause we had some tweaking that went on a little bit last year, I'm not sure how completed it was, so if anything looks off, you know, please, like, we're looking to correct everything too, we don't wanna just leave it. Like I said, this is hopefully gonna set us up for, you know, the years to come. you guys have any other questions? Joe, Luke?
No.
I'm sure I'll have a ton, but, and I put some on some spreadsheet stuff, I mean, they were little comments, but they were basically for me, so
Yeah.
when I would sit down with the department heads, I would understand the line a lot better and how it was broken out and compiled. One of the things that I think that's important for the budget is to know what the fiscal guidance would be or what the expectations of revenues from taxes would be, so we can keep that capped
Mm-hmm.
in such a way that we're meeting your expectations and your guidance. You know, those kinds of things and other nuances of how you see the budget going, or maybe you see that there are certain departments that need help, or whatever you have for inputs from you to us would also be very helpful too, as we go to help build the budget with the department heads.
Okay. And I think, like, you know, right off the bat, it's just keeping that tax rate flat. You know, if not shaving a little, if we can shave a little, it'd be great.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of fat there, but you know, there's always room to improve. And then in true zero-based budgets, this year could be a year that we don't need certain things too, and that's what the department heads really have to focus on, and just understand that the things that they really need are going to cost more. So is there something else that they can kind of offset
Mm-hmm.
to let go? Now it's going to hurt a little bit, but you know, most of us, you know, live and work in the community, and so it benefits everyone.
Yeah,
So you have skin in the game.
Right.
try not to be destructive but constructive, I'd say.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act that you can never quite get right on flat. But it's okay.
Well, you're gonna have issues like,
You
you
don't.
know, gasoline
I was
this
just gonna
year.
say.
There's so
Oh.
much.
I mean, who would expect that? I mean,
Well,
it's
thankfully
out
our
of control.
you know, Lou had brought up our freshman member to about the state depots. We weren't currently using the state depots for our fuel, and I think we caught it just in time. And
It
I haven't
saved us
heard
a lot of
anybody-
money.
a lot of money, and there hasn't been anybody, you know, saying I'm gonna overexpend my, you know, fuel line.
Mhm.
So, and I've heard other communities that aren't set up the same way.
There's one other thing I'd like for the selectmen to consider is the possibility of doing quarterly budget reviews. You get a real good eyeball on how execution goes, and you can find out who's executing well or who's falling behind, and you can make adjustments as you go through the year
Mm-hmm.
to make it more efficient. And it also helps the directors too, or the department heads too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be excellent, you know, if you
Yeah.
guys wanted to kind of, you know, have a, you know, eyeball on the budget
Right.
all year long, by all means, and then, you know, have those quarterly meetings. That'd be excellent. Yep. Awesome. Sounds like you guys are gonna be highly involved. I love it. Yeah. Cool.
No doubt.
Yeah.
The only other directive from this board, I think, I might be stepping out on a limb here,
What's that?
saying this board, we don't like to go too deep into comparing ourselves to other towns. Cause that's something that comes up a lot. Well, you know, other towns spend this much money or pay this much money, and as
Yeah.
much as possible, we like to just look at what are the numbers, what does it cost, and
Yep.
you know, not fall into this trap of keeping up with the Joneses everywhere.
And that's how we, you know, kept the tax rate, you know, low. The municipal tax rate for our town is, you know, very low, you know, comparatively to, you know, towns surrounding us. And that's one reason why we don't try to, you know, always have the nicest, newest, fastest. You know, we make do with what we have to make do with, but then plan, you know, for when things are gonna be, you know, need to be replaced. So we'll be working with the planning board as well, like as far as the CIP, the capital improvements plan, and putting it all together. So I'm looking forward to having a nice, clear picture for our taxpayers, community members, come deliberative session and before.
Good.
Yep. Cool. No other questions? Jason, you good?
Yeah, I'm very thankful you guys stepped up.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'll send you guys an email tomorrow with the, and if whenever you can come in, we'll do the oath, and you can do it separately. You don't have to all do it together, and that other paperwork.
Okay.
Alright,
Alright,
Cool.
Cool, thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
And you
Chip.
can stay for the rest of the night if you like.
I'll let you guys do your business.
Save me some dinner.
Alright, thank you.
Yeah, good night.
Alright, have a good night.
Bye,
See ya.
thanks.
Evening, Ed.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
Cool, thanks for coming in.
Sure. Thanks for
Good.
having me.
So, pretty much right on cue here.
I know. Crazy.
So you wanted to discuss the necessity or lack of necessity for the local septic designs with us?
Sure.
Okay.
I had spoken to Deb on a couple of occasions, regarding local approval, to the extent that you're curious about what it is, why we have it, and if we wanna keep it. I'd be glad to answer any questions. I'm not really advocating one way or the other. There are pros and cons to both.
Mhm.
There are towns around that have it, that don't have it. Ringe, for one, is a town that had it, but doesn't anymore. If the selectmen are considering changing our status currently, we require local approval before septic plans go up to the state. And what that means is the building inspector or the building department looks at the plans to make sure that they conform to local ordinances, the local zoning.
Mhm.
Because when it goes up to the state is getting plans from 200 towns around the state. And they are looking strictly for, does it comply with their regulations with respect to what they require for septic systems in the state. And they can't be expected to check everybody's local zoning and make sure it conforms, especially when local zoning changes. It is prone to changing. So,
And basically, our local zoning pretty much conforms to the state regs.
there are a couple of exceptions. For one, the state will allow you to place a leach field as close as 5 feet to a property boundary. In the town of New Ipswich, we consider a leach field or a septic tank a structure, and it's subject to structure setbacks, which are 20 feet from the sidelines in most of our zones. So there's a few minor differences. The state requires septic systems to be set back 50 feet from poorly drained wetlands. We require 75 from all wetlands. So there's a few minor differences.
Now, if we removed that initial local approval and just allowed it to go to the state first, I'm assuming you'd have to still come and present before the planning board, right? No?
So the planning board wouldn't see a septic design, they would see subdivisions.
Yeah,
But once a subdivision is approved by the planning board, a septic system could be designed on any approved lot or lot of record, and it would go straight to the state. Now, once it's approved, I believe the building department's current policy is, if you apply for a building permit, include your house plans, they have this list of things, including the septic design.
Right.
So they would see the septic design when it comes back from the state. The important thing is they get to see it before it goes in the ground.
mhm,
So they have that opportunity. The only downside is if at that point the building inspector says, hold on, that doesn't meet our local requirement, then they've got to hand it back to the applicant. The applicant may need to make a change with the state. They may or may not have to file a new application fee.
mhm.
But again, that's the risk that the applicant takes if they don't consider our local zoning seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm always cautious when I work in a town that I've never worked in before. Like if I go over to Nelson and I design a septic system,
Mm-hmm.
I have to look very closely at all their zoning and make sure I'm not putting my client in a position where they're gonna get in trouble with local zoning. You know? A lot of the designers around here, it's not their first rodeo in New Ipswich. They've designed a lot of systems in New Ipswich. They're familiar with it. They know the requirements, and so they're not likely to make those mistakes.
Okay. Now I know, cause it seemed to be a little bit cumbersome, right? Like to have the local approval, cause there's not very many communities from what that I understand have the local approval requirement.
Not all of them, and I'm not sure
Yeah,
what
there's
percentage
like a handful
it is.
when I
Yeah.
talk to the DES.
I do have a list if you want. I can give you see which towns require it. There are quite a few. So that's the list.
Oh,
But that's
that do
every
require?
town in the state.
Yeah.
So, and
I didn't realize there were that many.
yeah,
Cause when I was talking to the girl at the DES, she was like, "Oh, there's only a handful."
yeah. And to your question, is it cumbersome? There's an expectation of timeliness with these designs because DES subsurface has gotten so streamlined. They're really a model for all the state agencies. If I submit a septic design tomorrow morning, I'll have an approval or comments by the afternoon. Wow, that's how fast they are. And so that expectation now puts pressure on local towns to, if you're gonna be involved in the approval process, you need to do it in a timely fashion. So I never really had a problem with it. I always planned around, Rick used to be in every Monday morning,
Right.
and I would just plan, okay, I'll have my design reviewed by Rick Monday morning, he'll give me the local approval, I'll send it up to the state, not a problem. Over the course of the last couple of months, we've had trouble, for obvious reasons.
Right.
And I mean, I think if you want to keep it, I think there's just a responsibility to get in a groove with it and turn the reviews around as promptly as you can. And I'd be willing to help out. Is it Jim?
Jim. Yeah.
I'd be willing to come in and look at a few designs with Jim or Sue or Jen and just say, hey, here's what you want to look for. Here's the big ticket items that are going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
These setbacks are the real critical ones from a local standpoint. And if you can check this and it looks good, then sign the approval and send it back to them.
That would be really helpful, because then it could be back up for Jim to do that,
Yeah.
if he's out for a week or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Laurie used to do it for work too.
Okay.
In the event that we wanted to remove the town's involvement in this, does anyone know what process that would be? Would that be on the select
just
board,
have
the
to
zoning board, or?
You just have to vote and say you're not gonna require local approval. And then I would send that to the state. All I have to do is send them an email saying the town of New Ipswich at their meeting on whatever, the board voted to no longer require local septic approval.
And then that would affect the planning board.
Yeah, on subdivisions and, yeah.
Well, it
No.
doesn't
No.
affect the planning board on subdivisions. Subdivisions still require simultaneous review and simultaneous approval.
Okay.
Now, there are cases where someone might come in with a bunch of 6-acre lots. Lots 5 acres or greater don't need to be approved by the state, but they still have to be approved here at the local level.
Yeah.
There's no bypass for that. So this local approval process is just for septic system designs. once a lot is approved or it's a lot of record, someone can buy it and hire a septic designer and get a design done. That's local approval just gives you guys one bite at the apple before it goes to the state.
Were
With
you
the
around when it was first adopted?
Yes, so I've been designing systems in town since before we had it, and then we adopted it. And I don't know if you guys got my email, did you? Okay, so one point I make in the email is that one of the reasons that towns want to have it, and the reason that we adopted it, is there was a situation where a designer from out of town who may or may not have been familiar with the local zoning designed a system that was too close to a boundary line, and it caused some issues with the neighbors, and there was a little bit of a dispute, and they had to get an equitable waiver after the fact from the zoning board, and the thought was, well, if we had local approval, we could have caught this before it went in the ground. And there's some truth to that, but you have to understand as well that most septic systems are designed by septic designers who may or may not be land surveyors. There's a few of us out here that have both licenses. And I will tell you that if you've got a land surveyor who's designing a septic system, the very first thing they think about is boundaries. Before I do anything, where's the boundary line?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can identify the boundary line, you can identify the setbacks. Sometimes septic designers don't get the boundaries right. And if they don't get the boundaries right, and their plan isn't correct, then your local approval is only as good as their plan. If they're showing set boundaries and setbacks and they're saying, hey, everything fits in here, and you say, okay, good, send it up to the state. If they don't get the boundaries right and the setbacks right, then your local approval isn't necessarily preventing those issues where things can get built too close to boundaries.
But while the septic's going in, it can be inspected to see, like, to have those boundaries checked, like once it gets marked off, or I'm sure there's inspections that happen along the way.
The state inspects. We don't inspect septic.
And the state probably doesn't check for the setbacks as they
check
have the,
to make sure it conforms to the plan that was submitted.
yeah.
Right.
And so they're gonna go out there and they're gonna say, oh yeah, here's these benchmarks, and it says it's this many feet from these benchmarks. Looks like it's correct per plan.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
again, if the boundaries aren't
If the
depicted
plan isn't right.
accurately on the plan, the setbacks might be wrong. I'm not trying to suggest that this is a problem that happens all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but I do see it occasionally. Not every pipe that's sticking out of the ground is a boundary corner.
Yeah.
And sometimes the septic designer says, oh, there's a pipe, that must be the corner.
Yeah.
Well, land surveyors are trained to do the research and measurements to determine if that pipe is important or if it's an old cut-off mailbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There's,
So do you, is this something that's causes a lot of backlog in the building department?
It's just that when Rick was approving them, and if he was busy or I just wasn't able to get a hold of him, then I'd get phone calls and emails and where's our approvals, so.
Because I'm all for removing, layers, like unnecessary layers. But I'm just not sure if this is an unnecessary layer or not. And like Debbie had mentioned, I had heard that it was only a handful of communities, but it looks like we're not an outlier in requiring the local approval. And from your perspective, it's more of like a time frame, like we haven't been turning them over in a timely fashion compared to the state.
yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see them turned around in a day, if that's possible. mean, certainly, I think builders can survive a couple of days, but if it's a couple of weeks, it can be very problematic.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know?
and plus they're waiting for our approval before they can send it to the state. So it's not like they can submit them simultaneously or anything like that. They have to get local approval, then they have to send it to the state, which their turnaround is pretty fast, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
ours is,
Sometimes when
Can
we're
be.
looking at weather, it becomes a real
Yeah.
crunch, you know, someone's looking
Right.
at the 10-day forecast and they're like, I wanna get this thing backfilled before,
right,
you know, and they're waiting for a local approval on an as-built. So that's the other thing to realize is, we need approval for the original system that we design. And then that comes back and they go out and they build it, and sometimes the state requires an as-built. And guess what, that as-built also requires the local approval once again.
I didn't know that.
And that can be when the time crunch is really important. You got someone who wants to backfill the system before it gets washed away,
Yeah.
or before it gets frozen or it gets snow on it. And so that's when it's kind of important.
So where would your reservation come in?
Not creating more problems with the removal of the requirement. You know, 'cause
You-
like it almost sounds like it would create a potential area where there'd be some back and forth between the applicant and the state if, you know, like it came all the way back to the building department, like, oh, you're 7 feet off the line in these plans, like we required, 20 foot, then, right? They'd have to go and get, new approval from the state as well.
I'm saying, what would your hesitation be
Oh,
getting rid of the town's,
well, that's it, just having that potential back and forth.
because the zoning laws would still apply, is what you're saying?
Correct, yeah, just
Like
cause the
that
state
20.
approves it doesn't mean
Yeah, and
that it would fit within our guidelines.
That's why I asked. We can say we get rid of it, but that doesn't change anything, other than one step in the inspection process. Is that true?
The approval process.
So if the selectmen voted, okay, we're not gonna have the,
Local
um,
approval.
what's that?
The local approval.
Yeah, we're not gonna have the building inspector do this anymore. All the setback zoning laws that we have are still in place, is that?
we're
Mhm.
still expected to
Yeah.
conform when we design the system. I will say one last point that you may wanna consider. You keep it, do you not keep it? I mentioned as-bills. And sometimes the state requires as-bills. The leach field cannot move from the approved design. If it moves, they need a new application entirely. But if the leach field is where it's been designed, the tank might move a little bit. Maybe they hit ledge in this area and they shifted the tank. The house can move, or the well location can move. And if those things happen, the state requires an as-built. If you don't have local approval anymore, you don't get a chance to look at that as-built. That's one thing to be mindful of. Now, I'm not gonna say that landowners are gonna use this as an opportunity to promise to build it here and then move it there. But theoretically, it could happen, and that local approval process does give you that one last look at the plan, you know. If someone did in good faith build a house in the setback, they made a mistake, they made an honest mistake, and the house is in the setback. Generally, you're not gonna make them tear it out anyway, but they would have to go to the zoning board, for what's called an equitable waiver.
Mhm.
Usually they balance it, they're like, well, geez, this person's got $50,000 into the foundation. Are we gonna make them move it? Is that really fair? And they do this balancing test, but it gives you, the local body, one last look at the plan before the final as-built state inspector comes down and blesses it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one thing to consider.
Okay.
And again, I'm trying not to push you in one direction or another. I'm just trying to show you
Well,
there's
to me, it almost
pros and
sounds like
cons to having
we
it.
need to do a better job, like on our end, you know, leave it the way it is, you know, tighten up the ship, make sure that we turn these things around, stabilize, you know, like that position, and,
If
And I
they
feel
could be
like-
turned around in a day, I think there'd be very few complaints.
mhm,
And I feel like if Ed sat with Jim and Sue and they could both do it, so if one of them's here and the other
Between the
one's
two of
not,
you,
between the two of them, they could turn it around in a day. I would think, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't take
Yeah, I
that
just
long
have
to
anyone
analyze
look
it.
at, so if-
Right.
if we
Yeah.
could sit and,
Yeah.
no,
Like I said,
Yeah, we
Laurie
could
used
look
to
at
do
some
it.
together and
I don't think he's ever been denied anyways, so. It's, there's some others that.
Well, I'd be curious to see that if any of them, I mean, I don't ever remember Rick refusing any or telling him to change it or anything. I think everybody pretty much knows the,
yeah, hopefully that's a function of the fact
Local.
that the designers
Right.
that work in this town know the
No.
zone.
exactly,
mhm.
Yeah, every once in a while we get a one-off and.
Yeah, it does
Right.
happen.
Mhm.
What's your feelings, have you heard or, feel that it would be prudent to remove that requirement, or,
I haven't heard much. I think I may have had one person say that has held them up
mhm,
Right.
recently, but what I'm hearing tonight is we could remove it, but it might introduce more zoning appeals or
Yeah.
more problems between neighbors. Or it might not, but that's a real potential. Something slips through, the thing's in,
yeah.
so there are things to consider there.
But and I really appreciate your offer, to come in and help Jim and Sue, to understand that, and hopefully help us, turn them around quicker, because it sounds like it's fairly simple. Like if you know what to look for off the plan, like you said, you can't, like you're looking at the plan, but that's what's in front of you and that's
Right.
what the approval's on is the plan. So if we can just figure out how to, like, that process is done, and then keep giving it a shot. But if there's problems going forward, please don't hesitate to reach out to the board or Debbie and just let her know. Or
Let me know.
yeah, Sue.
Thanks so much. Just-
Yeah, because we're always open to review, any of our, process, procedures, ordinances, all of it. We're looking to do business better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. I appreciate that. Do you have any plans currently in front of you? No,
Mhm.
no applications? I'll have some soon.
I
for
could
you.
pull some old ones for the training.
Yeah, we can do that too, so.
Okay. Did you have any other questions or comments?
No.
Debbie? Ed?
Oh, wait.
Rick was always available Monday mornings. What's Jim planning for availability?
Jim's been, he was coming in most afternoons, but we started that I, text him all the inspections that are necessary, and then he'll give me a phone call the next day and say he did this, this, and this, and
Okay,
so for now, that's how it's working.
okay. Well, if he gets them in, let me know, and if I have one, I'll bring it in and we can sit down and look at it
Mhm.
together.
awesome, thank you, Ed.
We'll schedule a training then, like a half hour.
Sure, yeah, probably half an hour to look through it. I assume you guys have a copy of the zoning printed out handy. And,
Yeah,
you
well,
can
maybe
pull out the zoning,
binder, yeah.
pick
Well,
out
90
pick
pages,
out
so-
the important,
Right,
things to look for.
Okay.
I'd like to be in on that if possible, if you don't care, do you?
No, that'd be great. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cause I never knew, I
Excellent.
never knew what to.
All right.
Thank you, Ed.
Sounds good.
Your assistance is
Awesome.
invaluable.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You're
Ed.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Some information, thank you.
I did wanna mention one more thing to you about the, cause you kept bringing up the planning board and the subdivisions.
Mhm.
They on the subdivision, they just have to show that it'll fit in that lot.
No, some of
It's
the
not like
questions
an
were just
approval.
simply asking, like the question, like to try to find spots, like where
Yeah.
we might be eroding, like something that's not broken, like the broken pipe part might just be
Right.
the transition point that we were just in.
Yeah.
Cause that's what it kinda sounds like, is, you know, that transition point over the last few months has, you
Yeah.
know, created some backup, so,
Issues.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because right now, the building department isn't inspecting, like from an engineering standpoint anyways. They're
Mhm.
just looking for setbacks.
Right. Yeah, they just look at the plan and say
That's it.
it's 20 feet.
Yeah, they're not
And-
getting
yeah.
into the leaching
No.
capabilities and,
No, that's the
Yeah.
state's job.
yeah, so.
Alright. Cool. What do we got? Enforcement. I see a couple faces in the audience that I wasn't expecting. So kinda, Kitty?
So I think I misunderstood that this meeting was gonna be about the police department. And I don't know where I got that one, you know, what was going on.
It's on the agenda.
It-
Yeah,
That was just us. We're gonna go over what we're going to present next week.
Okay,
If you have,
totally fine, then I misunderstood, so I'll be back next week or whenever.
but if you have
that-
something you'd like to share
My
tonight,
thing is,
that'd
we
be
just
great.
have to bite the bullet as a town and do something, we can't just keep kicking the can down the road, you know, I just feel bad that we're just always stuck in this spot, so I just wanted to see what was gonna be said and,
Yeah, and
you
that.
know, I think we're gonna have to spend money, unfortunately.
Yeah, so next Tuesday at 7
Okay,
is they're gonna do.
so Doug will be happy, I'll get dinner home now.
Oh, there you go.
But
Nice.
this, just so you understand that this isn't another new
Correct.
building being presented, it's something, just make that work, so while we get our,
Yep, and I'm totally
You do
fine,
understand
I'm totally
that,
fine
yeah.
with whatever we come up with, that we're not gonna get stuck doing, repairs on that building and then they sell it too, cause then we're just throwing money out the
Right.
window. You know, there has to be some guarantee to
Yeah.
us if we do stuff.
yeah. And that's another balance that we're
Yep,
gonna try
so,
and strike here.
Good, I mean, I so respect and so appreciate all the energy that people do, cause my head can't wrap around this stuff, so.
There's a lot, is it there? I mean, we just saw earlier, the 4 volunteers step up.
yeah,
Mr. Rogers volunteering to come help.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
It
Yeah.
is.
Well,
I love our town.
good, then I'm gonna go home and I'll, thank you guys.
cool. Good night, Kitty. Thanks for coming
Thanks,
in.
Kitty.
Okey-doke.
I'll see you next week. Alright, and then, are you in for the hawker's license?
Oh,
Yeah. What was your name?
Ragnar.
Ragnar. Hi, I'm Sean, it's Jason. I don't mean to skip over you, Amanda, but I think he was just looking for a waiver on the fee, right?
and to get his license, the license approved, it's in your packet and it's also in the signature thing.
Oh, okay. Alright. Now, is there a reason that you're looking to have the fee waived?
Not particularly. I was talking to Margie
Mhm.
at the desk, and she thought that it was here that the fee is even there, and most of the towns don't ask for fee. It's like 50-50, but we've had fees waived in, for example, in Franklin and Newport and these kind of towns as well. So it's totally up to you. Right? Some towns ask for a fee, some don't.
Okay.
I don't know when did you last give out any of these permits? So usually the fees might be there for like last 5 years.
Yeah, I'm not
Talk about it.
I'm not exactly sure. It's fairly new to me, and I was gonna ask Debbie if you knew anything about the fee or even what this. I guess, what are you intending to do in town?
I'm doing door-to-door sales, so selling some educational tools door-to-door. So we're actually covering the whole New Hampshire area. So I've been to Derry, Milford, and Wilton myself.
Yeah.
And yesterday I went to Limeborough, Mason, Denver, Greenville. So none of the 4 actually even require a permit, but they're like smaller towns as well. And usually these kind of applications go through the police. So you're one of the only towns that actually do it through the town as well. So usually it's through the police.
Okay.
So it's like different thing for me as well. Usually I do it through the police, and we actually called ahead in May as well when we were back in Europe, just like planning our areas. Then we got like a whole list of like documents that you need as well for the permit to be approved. But
Yeah.
but I guess that's not actually.
Yeah, I've only ever seen one before, but that was when I was doing land use. I just handed the application to them, I don't know where it went from there.
So what was the educational products that you were selling?
What are they?
Yeah.
Books, basically books that work together with apps. So working with Southwestern Advantage.
Oh.
I don't know if you heard of the company.
Yeah.
Basically, there's 7 of us here in New Hampshire, and we've covered like most of the residential area of New Hampshire already. And the company's been around for 160 years already, so there's over 2,000 students doing the same thing all around US basically.
Hmm.
Do you have any of the material with you, or?
Yeah, everything with me.
Question tonight is, do we waive a fee?
Oh,
Yeah, and the approval as well,
approve the
basically.
And approval.
And approval.
Yeah.
Because usually I know that all the permits go through the Board of Selectmen, but it's the first time that I have to be here.
Okay.
So usually.
Oh, I didn't say you had to, I just figured you could be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, because Marsh told me that I have to.
Oh,
Were
I
you
just
aware
figured
this
you
is,
If they had any questions, it's cool that you're here.
yeah, that this is recorded and on TV right now?
No idea.
Yeah, no, I'm making you aware.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
no worries at
All
all.
of our meetings are this way.
I don't mind being famous, you know, I'm already famous in Wilton and every other town around here, so.
Okay.
But because when I went to police station yesterday, I actually did like this kind of, so Wilton PD just posted about me yesterday as well, so I took this picture with,
Just so they letting the residents know that you'd be walking around.
yeah,
You're
exactly.
not some strange
So
person.
I took like this kind of picture with Chief Olesen in Wilton PD,
Okay.
and an hour later I was here in the PD coming to ask about the permit, and the lady on the desk already knew about me in Wilton, so
Oh.
Okay.
I don't mind being
There you go.
famous around here, I'll be anywhere. So basically these are the kind of products. So basically it's like an education system that grows from babies all the way up to
yeah.
high schoolers. And basically we sign up like tens of thousands of families every summer all around the states.
Okay. Alright.
Please don't trip on your cord. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, if you don't mind, like, it says that you're looking to start next week? Sometime, the 25th?
I'm not really sure.
In between then and the end of August?
Yeah. Well, New Ipswich probably will take me about a week to go
Yeah.
through. But I just started in Wilton, and all of the other towns are smaller around here as well. So Temple, Greenwood, Mason. I'm not sure how long it's gonna take for me to get through them, but I guess it's like week and a half or two to get through the other towns.
Okay.
And I'm not really sure in which queue I'll take the town as well, but
Yeah. Alright. Yeah, I think we would take probably a week, like, for this, cause myself, I'd like to, make a couple phone calls and chat with some community members and, have them weigh in, like, with me, and then, be ready to, make a motion for approval or not, at next week's meeting. Does that sound fair?
It'll be a day after he was hoping to start.
Well,
Well, I don't.
Like you
have
said,
a
he's
plan.
not sure. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
before the end of August. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
okay.
Oops.
Sorry to hold you up. It's like it's just new
Yeah.
to me.
And
Yeah,
just to
probably-
find out if there's
I'll reach out to Eric,
Precedent.
Chief Olson. I was one of the person I'd call just to kind of hear his points on it and yeah.
So with the Wilton as well, I applied through the police, but then Chief Olsen signed off, and then it went before the board as well. They signed off as well, and then the police administrator called me that permit is ready, basically.
Cool. All right.
All towns take time on it, so yeah, that's why I went through all of the towns just to know that I can start whenever I want there. So
Gotcha.
in a timely manner, basically.
All right.
So does Southwestern
Advantage.
Advantage, would they pay these fees typically? Would they just request that they're?
No, I usually pay it from my own pocket, and then they reimburse me after the summer.
Oh, I see.
Like not all of it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming in.
No
Yeah,
worries,
it
thank
definitely
you.
helped to understand it a little bit better.
Yeah.
No worries, no
It was a
worries.
pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. It's my first board meeting.
And
Now you're on camera and you're famous. There's your 15 minutes of fame.
Alright, we have all the necessary information there.
Yeah.
yes.
Basically, you can call me or email me if.
Yeah,
Your
Debbie
phone
will be in
number's on
touch.
there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Alright,
Right.
thank
Thank
very
you.
much.
Cool. Thank you. Alright. Yeah, no, it just brought me back to last year, when the tent revival came in and everybody was so upset and didn't want anybody to,
That was
go
2 years ago.
or 2 years,
Yeah.
2 years,
I know.
flying
The
by.
year that never happened.
Yeah, but wanted to get assurances that people weren't gonna be going up to, people's homes,
Yeah.
like from that group, so.
Right.
That was when we lived in a state of fear.
Exactly.
Today we don't live in that state of fear.
No, there's more, I don't know if it was the COVID fear, but I took it more as, people don't want, just, strangers, walking up to
Stranger
their
danger.
house. Cause that's what I heard, like, you'll be shot, that's what I kept hearing,
Yeah.
from residents.
It is New Hampshire.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that was because of COVID. I honestly believe that too. That everyone was
That's where
freaking
people
out.
made the mistake of.
Yeah.
I don't think they didn't care that it was a religious thing, but then when they heard people were walking around
But there was.
knocking at doors, but they weren't even doing that.
No.
So,
yeah,
anyways, here we are.
so weigh it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Some community members, get some input. That's
But
for all, that's who
community-
put us here,
Community
Community
members
yeah.
Right.
should be aware that they are not obligated to open the door if somebody knocks on it.
Correct.
So.
Go away.
Yeah.
So if you want me to put something like that out on the web or Facebook, just something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just to let people know
yeah,
that they'll
wait.
be out
well, yeah, we
We're gonna
gotta
see.
hear
Yeah,
from
well, yeah.
Deb and, yep,
once.
Yeah,
it's-
make sure you wanna approve it and all
Yep.
that good stuff, yeah.
cool, thank you, Sue. Alright, and then Amanda, you're in for any, Warwick Will's lease renewal questions?
Well, we
Or
were
did
sent
you have
the
a-
lease and I sent back a few things to add in there, this morning,
Okay,
but other than that, it seemed
Did
fine.
not put that in. Oh, crying out loud. I emailed it to you guys all.
today,
Maybe I didn't, yeah, cause that's when I got it.
I know,
What time?
It was,
Yeah.
noon,
Yeah.
11, something.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance really to look at it and go through, I think, if I recall correctly, you had, made the suggestion to put in a spot that just said, like,
How much it is.
how much, like per square foot, and then,
Yeah,
like,
basically.
an allowance of square feet from us.
Right,
the
so
rate.
basically to put in, that the rent is based on usage space, which it is, and then how much that is by year. Cause right now the rent's going up
Mhm.
every year. And then the ability ability to assess our usage. You know, I think I put in like no more than
Twice a year.
twice a year.
Yeah.
To assess
Do you want me to
what
go print
the
that out
usage
real
space
quick?
is.
No, that's fine, like, cause I'm not gonna, you know,
I don't think we need to make a decision
Yeah,
tonight.
tonight, but-
You can email back.
Yeah.
yeah,
response
no, it's
if
good
you want,
to
but-
see you in and, you know, that, you know, communication
Right.
lines, you know, have strengthened over the
Yeah,
last, you
for
know,
sure. And
few
then we
days.
started paying the $1,500 rent already, so.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. For July.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I know June was 1,000.
Yeah, so we paid
Yeah.
that last one, and then I just approved
Okay.
1,500.
Okay.
If you didn't receive it, you should receive it soon. So
Okay.
For now, anyway, that'll kind of keep us going. But
Right.
Yeah.
So then I guess we can review the letter that was sent
Yep.
over the email.
Yeah. Deb, did you put it in the Dropbox?
Mhm.
You wanna go print it?
Oh, I just asked him and he said no. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't wanna spend too much time
Yeah.
like on that tonight, but yeah, cause like I said, it's good that, you know, you're coming in and, you know, good to hear that, you know, communication's going back and forth
Right.
now.
yeah,
So that's, you know, key,
yeah.
then we can work it out over
Right.
the next couple weeks, like the details of everything.
Right.
Do you guys have an idea of how much space you want to use?
Well, I guess from what I saw, we were using like 17,000 right now.
Right.
I was actually surprised, but
I know.
when you start walking around, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't offhand know what we would end up
Okay.
maybe using. But for right now, we're where we are.
Right.
It's not going to change in the
Yeah.
immediate future.
Cause like I was kind of under the assumption that like you guys kind of want to keep it to $1,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
but how much do you want to charge per square foot to get them to where they need to be? To how much space do they need? It was kind of a,
Yeah.
you know what I
Plus,
mean?
I think there's taxes to be paid, but only on the space
Right.
we use.
No, it's on the whole thing. That was the other thing.
Okay.
So the building has to be taxed, but then the assessor can make an adjustment to how much. It's a weird like calculation thing.
Okay.
So
Isn't it still part of the rent, no matter what we agree with rent? That's not their problem, that's our problem. If we're not charging enough to cover taxes, I thought it said that in here.
well, taxes have to be paid on the
Right.
building,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but how much? Like the whole building has to be assessed for a taxable value.
Mhm.
And then the assessor, not the board of assessors, the assessor, and then assessing can adjust something in Avatar to make it so they're only taxing, not that they're only taxing a portion of the building, but somehow they reduce the thing cause we're exempt. We don't have
Yeah.
to pay taxes,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
So if
But
if
we're
we're not
leasing it.
renting out the whole building, it's only a
Right.
section, so that it
Right.
sounds like they can,
There's some
do
kind
that
of
percentage.
adjustment they can make in there, yeah.
okay,
Cause I asked NHMA about that.
yeah.
Who knows?
I know.
But then even at the same point, you know, someone that owns a building has to pay taxes on the whole building, no matter if the whole thing's occupied or not.
Right.
So then
Right.
it gets into the bigger question, if that's the case,
Yeah.
like, do we want to even be doing that? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to weigh out. And I still don't quite understand, like, how that would work, you know, like, the tax part, but
Right.
you know, we'll work
So-
through it. So I guess if you guys could come up with an idea of how much space you need, like cause it sounds like you're looking to kinda downsize,
Mm-hmm.
the usage, cause you're pretty spread out through most of the building,
Yeah, we are right now.
yeah.
Yeah, I can.
And there's probably some type of plan, like on, your parts, like for
Condense.
necessity, yeah, but then
Right.
making it so you can still
Yeah.
Access
shift
and
things
stuff.
around as you
Yeah.
need it,
The
yeah,
rent increase was pretty significant, so, which inflation and whatever is pretty significant right now, so.
yeah,
But yes, I can figure out how much space we think we'll need.
okay, yeah, we'll just, you know, you can go back and forth with Debbie and
then
she'll
we can
update us
figure
as,
out- Cause it'll end up being based on, you know, what's equitable for rent monthly,
Mm.
go back and forth on that, what makes sense for both of us.
okay. Alright, excellent. thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know that this was happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Should I email that stuff to you instead of Mr. Howland?
You can email both of
Cause
us.
I sent it to him probably a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah, so you can email both of us.
Okay,
Alright.
alright,
But I'll
perfect.
probably answer.
Okay,
I'll
Probably.
talk to him about it, but I'll probably
Yeah.
actually answer.
I hear you.
Have
Alright,
a good
thanks so
night.
much,
Have a
Amanda,
good night.
appreciate it.
You too.
I don't know how this works, Sean.
What's that?
Whipping through this agenda like this.
All on time,
That was early.
6:15, old new business, oh boy.
Are you not doing the building inspector?
No, we are. It just we had those people in, and I felt
Oh.
bad, holding them up. And that one gentleman, I thought he might have been like the one looking for that permit. So, and I knew what Amanda and then Kitty again. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
sure why she was in, and
Yeah,
I'm glad we did it that way because she would have been sitting
I
here
know.
still
I
waiting.
know, poor
Could be
thing.
sitting here for 7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks too.
Yeah. Until 7:00
yeah,
next week. Yeah, so if you want, we can get into that, the discussion, Jason, about the code enforcement fire chief, committee discussion. So for me, like hearing some of the concerns from the various boards and even community members and not understanding how this would work, how it could work, how the two roles actually can work together. Cause I've heard that from, Meredith, Rick, a lot of people that have, experience in those areas.
Yeah.
And just seeing the viability for the town, so I figured we maybe could shift the focus on, instead of looking to like just have that discussion between the three of us, to get that committee going, to first look at viability and how it would look, like that position would look. So that when if we go to post for it, we would have a complete job description, they would be tasked on that,
You wanted to hear.
setting up that entire role in that position. So to
So
me,
there's a group waiting to get cut loose on this thing. Is that what
not
you're
already
saying?
established, but there are people that are interested and that said that they would like to be and really hope they would be a part of a hiring committee for that position. So I'm sure that, if their initial task is to, look at viability, cause some of those people that I'm speaking of had a lot of questions too. So it's just a good starting point, like, is to get that group together to kind of hash things out and then go out and look, for the different resources and the different communities, and have
Job
something.
description for different towns, how it works in their town.
Yeah, and once we establish that committee, then, make a deadline, like for them to report back to the select board, their findings,
Yeah.
and then we'll have a better idea of the viability and what the pluses and minuses of it are or were in other communities, like when they made that switch.
So this is gonna be the big driver for me. I cannot envision creating a full-time position and keeping this intact. And I
Well-
see it, like I said last week, with the stipend versus hourly, and I'm not trying to pick on people at all.
Yeah.
I really am not. I have, you look at the taxpayers in town and the stability that this town has had for so many years. And these things, they just raise this alarm in me.
Yep.
Like, okay, so now there's gonna be a full-time position, which includes all the benefits, and generally speaking, it may not be right away. And yeah, I think the comment was made last week that I'll be dead before what I'm talking about takes place, right? But long range, they tend to grow and grow. It's not usual once you put something in motion for it to say, I no longer need to exist. That's highly unusual. And so them are the concerns that I have with that. The other concern is we're limiting the pool. And I know other towns are doing it. I understand that. I understand our previous building inspector, that was his role in Ringe, was it not?
Correct.
Yeah, so, but it is most certainly limiting the pool
What do you mean limiting the pool?
of who can do the building inspector job.
Yes and no, because I think even with the candidates for building inspector in a RIM position, you saw that there were some strong candidates for this type of role.
And that was one of the draws. The reason they were here was because they thought we were going to be implementing this thing.
That's not what I took from it, because none of them could tell us whether or not they would have been interested, like if that's the direction that we go in. You know, they not one said absolutely, like that's what I'm looking to get my feet wet for,
Right.
and I'm hoping to roll it over. Not one of the candidates.
I feel like 2 out of the 4 were very strongly leaning that way.
Interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be interested.
That would be
Yeah.
a reason for them to have accepted the temporary position. 2 out of the 4.
See, I didn't take that at all. Like, not one of the 4. Like, well, maybe one said it was, the money. It's all about, the money and offers. But yeah. So,
And which this is.
but it wasn't why they applied for the interim position. I don't think. I didn't take it that
Possibly
way.
not. And,
Yeah.
But so that's all I see is just this growth.
Mhm.
That tends to snowball, and it may be a long time, but I think, like I said with the ARPA funds, I'm I don't know, 5th generation in this town, 6th, 7th, I don't know what it is. Previous generations always were looking to the next generation,
Mhm.
and not like, oh well, ain't gonna happen in my life. That's fine. It'll be cool. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of that has been lost in this country.
Well, and I don't want to get too far into the country because I think our town's much different than the country, like as a whole.
But it's still, it comes through.
And just like how, they made the point to our finance advisory committee, like our aspirations, and we need to be effective managers as well, and stewards of the town.
So then how do you see this in the long term? Should we implement a new full-time position in town?
I look at it not as growth, but stabilization.
Is it unstable now?
Yes, it's unstable now.
Because,
Well, right now we have a fire chief that is looking to retire at some point in the near future.
which has happened in the past.
No, I know, but it's just sort of,
A good transition time.
yeah, like it's a good time for this, and then even like with the building department, I know you're gonna have turnover too in this potential, like the one full-time position, but it just, there's points that have been missed along the way, in both aspects, and I've heard the call for, like, if we had someone that was this was their job, was to focus on town related things, whether it be code enforcement, building inspection, life safety inspection, right
That way
now.
you're not sending 4 different people out there to do different things, like.
Well, right now it's 2.
And
Different people.
well, you have the health inspector, the fire chief, and the building inspector, right? And at times, when I've asked a question, it's like, that's not my job.
That's
It's
their
your
job.
Yeah.
And then they point to the next person.
Right.
Like,
So now it's all gonna be one person.
But it comes with a price tag.
Well,
And it's not a
so,
hefty tag, cause most of
No.
it's funded through, we already have stipends for these positions and, pay like involved in them.
so
And when you add it all up, and again, this will be the committee, like, to look at that, cause we're gonna say, we'd entertain it, but what, like, where's the money gonna come from, right? Cause that is, it's a key component to this whole thing. So we're looking to do this and also keep our tax rate flat. You know, we're not looking to bump it up, like none
Right,
of
and
this
that's-
is designed to bump it up, all it is just changing philosophy a little bit and then managing it and not letting it, you know, get out of hand.
So you feel like moving away from stipends and into hourly or salary pay generally will produce a flatter budget?
Yeah, well, 'cause they have to still operate within the budget. Just because we move to hourly pay for the firefighters doesn't mean that Meredith's gonna present a budget that is, you know, all the firefighters' full-time pay for next year, cause how's that gonna fly,
No, I know, but
you know?
but do you understand what I'm saying? The stability of a stipended position is you can't ask for an easier thing to budget,
Yeah,
right? Now a salaried position, kind of easy.
yeah, it's
But
basically
now
a
you're getting
stipend.
into all the, if they take health insurance and if they're eligible for retirement and all of that comes in when you're looking at the salary. And then hourly is really hard to budget. So
But
that's
when it's on call, like, yeah, that whole thing's difficult, but that's where we have a strong manager in Meredith right now and her officers, and they all know that they need to conduct business like within the budget. So even though they've been moved to hourly, if they have this massive influx of people responding to calls,
And I thought I made that clear last year. I am not suggesting that the firefighters are gonna be lining up to fleece the taxpayers. I'm not suggesting that at all. That they're gonna be taking advantage of this and raking in the no. I'm just saying the structure of it.
yeah. Well, no, they have to manage it
Well,
because they have a
and it's
set
true.
amount. They have a set amount of money. Just because it's hourly doesn't mean that all of a sudden they can just spend to the gills.
And
you know?
and so with part-time building inspector turning to full-time.
I'm gonna be frank, I know Rick was scheduled for 15 hours, but even if he wasn't responding all the time, every time, I guarantee he's putting in more like 20, 25.
I agree, always has.
Yeah.
So a lot of
I
that,
think that's part of why
yeah.
he was backing off for the last few months is because
Too many hours.
my time's up, I'm gonna do my 15 hours.
Right.
I think that's what he was scaling back to.
And then on Sunday nights, he'd do the computer part of it, you know, updating all his inspections and all of that kind of, assigning fees and whatever.
I mean, he's been gone since July 1st, but he's like, don't take my account away from me because I still wanna get some stuff, inspections entered. So he's still trying to do the right thing. He could
Yeah.
just
Right.
say, see ya,
yeah.
but he's trying to do the right thing.
So yeah, to me, like I said, just more stabilization, changing kind of the way people are compensated for their time, and to me, it doesn't blow up the budget. It just doesn't, and I think it can be done.
Oh, there's no question it can be done.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
and I have
is it the right? The other reservation that I have on this is the fact that we're probably at the peak of a boom that has what's looking like a sharp drop off in the building.
From what I'm hearing from the builders, they were holding back because the prices went up and they gotta get rid of their property, so they're building. So I'm getting a lot of
Right,
mindset.
but I'm saying nationwide, that's the word that's coming out.
Yeah.
That housing is looking at a big drop coming soon. And for us to, and we're not doing it tonight, which is good,
yeah,
but to be looking to make these part-time positions into full-time because the last 6 years have been really busy. And now, maybe the next 6 years, there's 3 houses a year.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Now we have a full-time guy, well, I mean, and you can fairly say, well, then we cut him down to part-time.
Yeah,
But-
cut them down to part-time, or
but
see if there's a
it's-
better way to utilize that, utilize him or her,
But it's
in
not
another
just-
department.
Building inspector though, it's gonna be fire chief, building inspector, code enforcement, health
Yeah.
inspector.
Which is, from what I understand, pretty much covered by.
I'll be honest, at first I didn't understand the whole fire chief, how it fit, but it makes so much sense now because they do, we have to get a fire chief to do the boiler inspections.
Yeah.
It's just, if there is a fire, a building inspector would be the first one to know what's going on in that building,
And it's the same person, it's,
But,
It just makes
yeah,
sense.
it's
all-
worked.
But
so
all of these
that's
things, like, and it's not like it'd be a position where someone would be sitting on their thumbs. That's not, like, there's enough work to be done, cause there's enough that's fallen through the cracks and doesn't get done in our current models
Yeah.
that, like,
mhm.
that's where the stabilization comes in. We're gonna offer a better product for our community members. So,
And you're saying level or less?
level or less, yeah, as a whole.
I will certainly be interested if this committee forms. I don't think we need to officially appoint a committee like the Finance Advisory Committee, do we, or?
I think that it would,
You don't have to have an oath, but
yeah,
pick,
Cause this is a temporary
right,
yeah,
study group, basically, is it?
right.
yep.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear.
Alright, so do you want me to kinda head that up then and just update you each
I
week and?
wouldn't have objections, I don't know where you find the time, Sean.
There's a lot of people that do the work, Jason, a lot of people that
I
do the
know, I
work,
look,
yeah,
sitting right here helping me put together that.
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
so it's excellent, like how involved our community is and, supporting this board and the town function, so. It's not just me, not just you, not just Deb, like there's a lot of people that,
Everybody,
yeah,
teamwork makes the dream work.
yeah. And one more full-time person would make it easier,
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
I guarantee I could keep them busy between code enforcement and building and
Yeah.
health
Alright, but,
inspections.
and that'll be the value of that, like having that group together to offer a recommendation to the board. So timeline on that you'd like to see something back.
Take your time.
Alright, we're probably gonna shoot for mid-September.
Right in
That's
the
the
middle. of
charges.
Right,
Well, no, just
perfect.
before, just
You wanna
before.
you wanna try to get it on the budget line?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Do
Yeah.
you want me to email anyone? Because I know Meredith, Rick, Eric, they all said they wanted to be on
Yep.
that committee.
yeah, so it'd be Dee, Meredith, like you said, Rick, Eric. Did Mike have any interest? You could float it to him anyway,
Yeah.
it's just I don't wanna leave anybody out,
Right.
Who do you have for residents?
I'm not,
You're not gonna have any residents?
no, I didn't say I wasn't gonna have any, I just to be open for suggestions, so if you wanted to,
Matt's almost done
put
with
the
this
feelers out.
project, so.
He must need
Hop
something
on to
else
the next
to do.
one. You just keep doing that till they completely burn out.
Right.
Well,
Never
I
show
thought
their
the
face.
point of the committee was to figure out, because those people have all done one or more aspects of this potential job, so they can, know the right questions to ask the applicant, and they can do the research to get the job descriptions and the pay, salary comparisons or whatever. Yeah, no?
Well, that and just the viability. Like first is gonna like they're
How
gonna be
it's gonna
tasked
work.
with so we'll have to get together on that initial email
Yeah,
to them because we're not going down that path yet.
right.
So this is just to see if it's viable. Because if they come back and say this is what it's gonna do to your budget and it's gonna increase it by this much, like exponentially, then we're not gonna go down that path. Like
That's
we'll have
what
to-
they're saying.
yeah, exactly, so this is
Okay.
really just,
It's kinda like what we're doing with the PD renovation.
Okay.
And that does come to my mind. I would never have thought to have a public hearing, and we'll see how it goes next week. Just so that people have an opportunity to weigh in.
Yep.
And that's really what it's about. And to hear out what we're proposing. In my mind, this thing here, creating a new full-time position, would really warrant a public hearing.
yeah,
Cause it's changing the structure of an important part of our town.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, and they'll be ready for, you know, because I kinda see it maybe even at the deliberative session, like being a hot topic there, and you
Better
know,
to have it
that committee
hashed
will be
out
formed,
some before.
exactly, and decide
Before
whether or
then.
not that's the where we wanna push, cause it could be a non-issue too, right?
Could.
Yeah.
And then again, you never know what the taxpayers, they might skip out, well, most of them won't attend a public hearing like that. But come deliberative session, they might just show up in droves and zero
Right.
out the line.
Yeah, who knows,
It's a,
so,
it's a
yeah.
fun little ride we're on.
Yeah. Fluid.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, so I'll get, we'll chat tomorrow about that stuff, Debbie.
Yep.
Alright, Mr. Wardwell,
You doing?
Look at that.
how you doing?
What's
Not
happening?
bad.
That's good.
I'm
I
gonna
guess-
sit,
What's that?
I'm gonna sit there.
Sure, yeah, I'll let you and Jason kinda go through, cause I haven't been a part of this process at all.
I have not either.
Yeah.
Do you need to present on the TV?
Well, I got a printout
Oh, okay.
if you wanna look at it.
Sure.
If there was more, I could look it up, but
Okay.
that is my, you know, I call that my final draft of what we're trying to accomplish. The first page is, we spent a lot of time in there measuring.
Let's make a few copies, I guess,
Okay.
of this.
Oh.
Okay, thanks, Sue.
Thank you, sir.
So we spent a lot of time, obviously the police right now are in the central wing, I guess, of that building. And we wanna expand into the right side of the building. So I spent a lot of time, me, Jason, the police were helpful, letting us in and out of there. And we got measurements, multiple Saturdays.
Yeah,
Multiple times I had to go there, but I shot as many measurements I could and to get a rough draft of what it is, cause we don't have an original plan. So and then we went from there, and yeah, once you get copies, I can explain what we're just, it's nothing too crazy, but there is quite a bit of substance there that we have to, you know, be thinking about
yeah,
in terms of how I guess bottom line is, you know, how much is this gonna cost?
yeah,
Is it a cost effective, you know, addition?
which have you guys run numbers at all, or?
Just,
If I had to guess, throw out a number, it's probably gonna be 40, 50 grand.
yeah, and that's, Charlie Sawyer and I went up there on a Saturday morning.
Yeah,
And we walked through with Matt's sketches and all the demo that needs to be done. In it, you'll see it's all new flooring in the area where they're at.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what we came up with. We just went with all the trades and went back and forth, and it came up right around that 50,000.
We don't,
I've showed it to several friends, family contractors, and they're like, yeah. And I'm thinking, that's way too much money. That's only like 8 walls that we're building here.
yeah,
But you know, I'm renovating at my house right now. The prices are so volatile. They're just, you can't predict what they're gonna be.
yeah,
You know, which is why we haven't set together this scope of work and ask for bids
It's
yet
always
because
crazy.
Oh, why it does that.
Oh, it's space for notes. That's what you do.
There you
Hey,
go, that's the way to do it.
thank you, Sue.
Thank
Above and
you.
beyond.
That's,
Thank you. Yeah, I guess, yeah, in terms of price, I mean, there's a bunch of different factors, one being addition work, there is always the unknown variables.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I mean, this is not, I mean, I like to think we got a pretty good layout on the first page of what it is. It's
Okay.
always the unknown when you start tearing down walls,
Right.
ripping down ceilings.
although they did design that building pretty nice
Yeah.
for renovating because you have full access to the basement and it's a suspended ceiling and truss roof, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like crazy here that we might not
So you have
know.
to don't worry about structural this
Yeah.
or that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we first did this, I was worried about possibly introducing load-bearing walls, which then you gotta go underneath and support that to the foundation and the footings. But you know what I'm trying to say is, you know, you rip down a wall, and there could be a pipe in the way
Yeah.
or wires. It's happened before, and that's adds the cost little by little by little. So, and yeah, another cost. Yeah, I mean, building prices are, you know, everything's crazy right now in terms of material. And yeah, I'd say, I mean, there's obviously a lot of, like, not a ton of money in the demo work, but I'd say probably electrical or getting CCTV wires into the cells.
Yeah.
If you look at the second page, we're trying to get to cells two cells into where the original office space is right now.
Yeah.
And I'd say that, you know, might take a little bit of money, but I mean, plumbing should be, you know, there's some things that shouldn't cost a lot, but you never know. You
Yeah.
could, you know. But I guess I should run through it, so yeah, you know, if you look at the second page of the redesign, we're just trying to get the police 2 little boxes so they can, if they have any detainees or arrestees, they can put them in a safe place, cause right now I would say they don't really have a secure area for if they arrest someone.
Yeah.
I mean, they have one chair that's bolted to the floor, and that's, I mean, whatever, you know, I don't know, so I think we're just trying to get them 2 cells in an area where they can operate if they were to get more than one arrestee, which I talked to the chief, it does happen. I mean, he said they get an average of 100 a year, so it's about 2 a week, I think, you know. And just, so that's, you know, that's the main goal, so that's, you know, in that if existing office space, we have 2 cells and we have a detaining processing room where they can come in and safely put them in the cells until they move to, you know, Valley Street or wherever. And then below we have evidence processing, which is a tiny little room, but Chief just said it can be a closet just to go in and out real quick.
Yeah.
And then he asked for a new interview room, cause right now they don't have really an interview, you know, I guess if you were to interview anyone, he'd probably be in his office, I believe, so, you
yeah,
know.
and I think this was part of the complaint that they had, especially with minors,
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
really need a
Yeah.
room that can be separated off some distance from where the prisoners being held.
yeah,
And so this was
yeah,
an important room.
yeah, so that, you know, there we have the public waiting room right next to the evidence and the interview, separated from the cell areas and the detaining processing. And if you move right to left, not a whole lot changes in terms of the evidence storage room, that should be a non-factor. Just because we don't need to, and the amount of work that the police would have to do to move the evidence out of there to get into work would be substantial, to say the least. I guess there would be a little bit of work to get the new hallway in there, running from left to right. I guess, when I was talking about the unknowns, I guess when we start getting to the left side of the new area, where the wings are separated, we need to get that opened up somehow. Which would just be some demo work, but, you know, like I said, there are some unknown variables.
and yeah, there's like I said, there's not a whole lot we want to add to, or I would say that, you know, the police are asking for, but you know, there's some work here for sure.
Yeah.
Matt,
Yeah.
is this whole thing here is the new space? Or these two spots right here and this is what already exists?
Pretty much the right side, so if you look at the original plan, the evidence storage on the left side and the miscellaneous storage, the police, the town rents out right now.
Okay,
Um,
and that's the, when you walk in the door behind the reception.
no, this is on the other side of the
So
building.
if you go on the first
So
Okay.
page,
it's not shown, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not shown.
It's not,
We talked about.
their original space isn't shown.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's,
Well-
it's down
But like I said, we do rent
So-
the miscellaneous storage and the evidence storage.
Yeah.
But in terms of, you know, the public walking in, you know, they have nothing to do with that, so, but.
right,
No, we did talk about it, and like I thought about shooting some measurements for the original space, and then it's been a busy summer, so it's been nuts.
but
Which
we
is
do
good.
have that
Busy?
sketch.
Yeah, there is a
Because
sketch.
there was one more wall that's getting demoed.
Yeah, but yeah, to answer your question, I mean, yeah, like I said, we do rent out those 2 units, so really we'd just
Okay.
be renting out 2 extra rooms essentially.
Yeah, it's like 400 square feet.
right,
Yeah.
so this side we don't have,
Yeah,
this side we already
Um,
have,
Yeah, that was Bellows Nichols.
yeah, okay, I was just curious how
Yeah.
that was,
So on the redesign plan, I noticed that you have a public waiting room.
Yeah.
Is that for like people waiting to see someone that's being held? Or because I thought one of the reasons for having like a cell or secure area was to make it so that they weren't bringing, you know, like people that are arrested by any members of the public that were just
Yeah.
there for regular business.
Yeah, this would not be open to regular.
Yeah, I kind of thought about it actually today, of all days.
Did
I
you?
was like, that's not really public waiting room.
And
Uh.
also the bathrooms, cause it looks like the public waiting room would use the same bathroom as the
Yeah, I talked
cells.
to the chief. He said that bathroom would be
It just
prisoners
stays.
only.
Yeah.
Prisoner, that would be.
So essentially, this would be like, so you arrest you know,
Yeah.
one of a couple,
Yeah.
you know, and the husband and wife come in, and you're only arresting the wife, and now the husband's sitting in this room while the processing's going on. This whole
So maybe
area
just
is
take
really,
out public,
Yeah.
and just put waiting room.
Yeah.
I think that might be a good idea,
Yeah. That's yeah.
because this area,
Because they already have the public.
mm,
Wait, you come in, you talk to reception.
So that end's
Right.
not really changing. You said there's one wall with demo or something, like on that other end?
Yeah.
and then all new flooring
Okay.
throughout.
Oh yeah.
The
There's
reception's not on.
Cause a part of
Right.
like this tonight is to try to hone like the presentation next week, so I don't know who's presenting what pieces,
yeah.
you know, so like like asking about the numbers, it's not gonna fly just to say like we need something like on paper that shows that 10 or 20 or 30 year projection or whatever it may be, you know, like for all of it.
Possibly. I mean, we look at the $50,000,
Yeah.
and like I've said before, yeah, it's money. It's real money,
Yeah.
but it's small compared to some of the stuff. I mean, what did we spend to outfit a plow truck?
No, I know it's
So
it's
this
small.
is the thing where I'm.
I
So
know,
if
that's
I
what
come
just-
forward,
and I believe in this, so
Yeah.
I'd like it, but in with everything that we're trying to do is to make it as clear as possible and to remove any gray area so that when we're presenting something to
Yeah,
our
for sure.
community,
for
that
sure.
they feel that they've received everything and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of like leaving these gray areas for people to ascertain or pull whatever they want out of it, the more of that you allow, you know, like the more
Negative.
that negative like is open, like it's open to that.
And I've wrestled with it, and I should have let you finish what you were saying. I apologize,
No, it's
interrupting
fine.
you, cause you said this 10 or 15-year thing, and I've weighed it, and I'm like, it's not really a 15-year plan. It was motivated by that comment that that you made, like,
Yeah.
oh, it'd be way cheaper to rent.
Yeah.
But in essence, that's not really the point anymore. You know, the point is to get it workable for them.
Yeah, workable, but then at the same point, like Kitty had said, there's no sense in us just throwing money away.
Yeah.
Unless you can see a return.
Exactly, so then that's where it comes in. So as a part of this plan, we're gonna propose a 10-year lease, and me just saying that, someone's
Well-
gonna think that that's what we're gonna propose, but no,
Right.
I'm just saying that for an example right
You know,
now.
and that
But it's
actually
just-
is why I wanted this meeting, because two people can think of a lot of things, three can think of more.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and that interestingly is would be preferred by the landlord.
what's that?
That, what you just said, a 10-year lease would be more preferable.
Okay,
But they do get a little more.
He prefers,
sorry, we'll just, sorry,
Somebody.
I'm sorry, it's a non-public at 7.
At 7, it's a non-public,
Oh, it's non-public.
At
oh,
7.
hey Charlie,
but it's
Hi.
next week,
Chuck.
Next week.
What?
Serious? It's next week?
What?
The meeting on the police station?
The public hearing on
Public
it.
hearing?
Yeah.
We're actually hashing over. This would be awesome.
Well,
You don't have to though.
no, that's fine. I was told that it was tonight, there was a public meeting, but it's not tonight.
No, it says
We're
police
hashing it
renovation
out.
dry run for presentation on July 26th. And that's what
I'll
we're
see you on July 26th.
alright, cool,
I'm sorry.
No,
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
perfect.
There was confusion.
No,
yeah, thanks for coming in.
okay.
Oh, that's cool, there's enough interest to a couple people in tonight, and
I know.
hopefully we'll have a full room next week,
Yeah.
open it up doors,
We'll see.
I mean, if I may,
yeah,
I'll be totally blunt tonight and next week. You know, this is a Band-Aid over a waterfall, really. This is, I mean, no offense, Sean, but I hear 15, 20 years, and it's gonna get dragged out and dragged out and dragged out. I mean,
well, so
This-
Matt,
this
so
is
right now, in
possible.
our current scenario and what we just came from for the past 10 years,
yeah,
is basically, like, we're still trying to like find
Yeah.
something that's better and make it workable,
Yeah.
because we're not sure when the community is gonna be ready to
Yeah.
invest the money, and just because this board may think
Yeah.
it should go in a certain direction, without community support,
it won't, yeah,
exact, like, so
Yeah.
we're working towards gaining community support and at least having some type of stable plan for the police department, that Chief Abel's, currently building right now, like, and
Yeah.
stabilizing.
yeah,
So it's like trying to help him, like, give
Yeah.
him the tools
yeah,
where they can operate safely, cause in reality, Jason said it before, something like that chair that seems ridiculous, that's bolted to the floor, it's worked,
yeah, it's-
right?
Yeah,
It's worked
it
for a
has.
while, so,
It's not code, but it works.
yeah, but still,
Yeah.
like it,
No.
and we can operate with a lot less even,
yeah,
and I don't care to see that, point be made. I'd like to
Yeah.
try to, operate in a fashion that, lets the community know that we're fiscally responsible.
yeah,
And that we're aware that everything costs money, and we're not just, just taking money, like their
Yeah.
money, and just throwing it at, whatever we see fit.
yeah, no, I didn't mean that to direct that towards you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm just, when we first talked about this, after my little, fantasy presentation, of what we, maybe one day we could possibly do, and Jason called me in to help me with this, I said absolutely, but if, we do this, then it just, okay, the problem's fixed. And, and yes, we are trying to fix some problems here, but, the end goal is a new facility, I think, in my mind.
I think a lot of people, but it's just not settled yet
Yeah.
on what that is.
Oh yeah, we don't need to
Yeah.
sell it tonight, I'm just.
Well, no,
yeah.
and that's what I'm saying, like, this at least buys us some time.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
And that's where the projection comes, I know
yeah,
it's terrible to hear, like, to hear the 10, 15,
Yeah.
20, but in reality, like, from this moment fast forward 10 years, we could be sitting here or like over coffee somewhere and be like, man, 10 years just went by.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I thought something was last year. Debbie just told me it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, like it's fast
And that was
forward.
the selling point that got him on board, that, you know, we all understand it will take some time
Yeah.
for that thing to happen. In the meantime.
We're trying to create the plan,
Yeah.
like to get there.
I just want like right here in this room and next week. This is just I think a temporary fix.
Yep.
That's
all.
how I believe I presented it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
all.
that's how I believe
And
it.
I won't come off as, you know, hard as that next week, but
No.
I just
You just did on live TV, so.
Well, just in
it's
my
temporary.
time, like the 2+ years on this board, we went through a period where we're almost willing to accept putting them in temporary trailers out on this property, like depending on how that sale went.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, and we're lucky that
Yeah.
a local community member made
Yeah.
the purchase of that property and is willing to work with us. Again, I look at it as another form of community support.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
That's just my
And
2 cents that comes along with this. This is just temporary.
yep.
Right.
When we're just trying to help them out in the now. You know? So.
Yep.
But part of that probably will be presented, what Sean asked for. So what is this gonna look like if we end up leasing this for 10 years?
Yeah.
And it has to be presented.
Yep.
Because of what you said. We don't know what the future holds,
Yeah.
and so the more,
But if we can show
Okay,
that
understand.
projection
yeah,
and show the cost, like that 10-year cost, and just how small this investment is,
Yeah.
like over that span of time.
Yeah.
And if we can get that, like some type of, you know, because that lease goes on to the sale of the building too. Like when people go to buy, purchase properties, they can't just kick everybody out, especially, you know, something
no,
like
they're
a leasing.
binding.
Yeah, yeah. So we need that security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Well, just sort of like who was gonna do what end? Were you like, and what do you need? Like, do you?
Where's the hearing?
Here.
Here? Oh, I thought it was at the school.
Yeah.
Are we able to access Zoom still, or? I think it'd be a good idea to put it up. Did we advertise Zoom?
No.
You don't like it?
Not that I don't like it. If it was more smooth and seamless, and we had a good grasp of the technology, it never works out smooth,
Yeah.
and then we almost
Yeah.
need someone that's dedicated towards Zoom and comments, because we're gonna be utilizing the
Letting
TV
people
for other
in
things.
and-
Yeah, and we haven't worked together like that as a team, you know. And even the planning board that's utilized Zoom quite a bit, they have their issues with audio and different things that
Yeah.
go on. So I don't think a night
You don't
like a
wanna-
public hearing would be a good
I
night
agree.
for that. Even though I love it,
Yeah.
but they can watch everything live too. And if someone's interest gets sparked and they want to come down and make a point, it's not that we shut the doors at some point. You know, like after public comment's over, you know, it's over. But
Yeah.
So then I think Matt will be the one who's explaining this.
In the hot seat.
What we've tried to accomplish, because you have it all.
Yeah, I can.
drawn out, and then-
I did during school in that presentation I did, what you do is, and this is just my thinking, is you present the problem, you don't present the solution, you know? You don't create the problem either, you present the problem, this is what we're trying to fix, this is what we gotta do, how much it's gonna cost,
I like
Yeah.
it.
thank you, any questions?
Do you think you'll be able to do something on the TV? or-
Yeah, like we did last time,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have PowerPoint anymore, I could use Google
If-
PowerPoint.
If you would send it to either Debbie or me,
Yeah,
then we can make sure
Yeah.
it's on
okay, yeah,
this
I can do that,
laptop too.
yeah, and then,
Is that okay?
yeah,
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 that's fine.
perfect.
I didn't mean to overstep.
No,
No, no.
it's okay.
well, and even when it's
You're
all
way
done,
more tech savvy than me.
everything that we can get and put in the Dropbox ahead of time, and just
Yeah.
really hammer the fact that there's a Dropbox link and everybody can look at the this stuff ahead,
Yeah.
like on at their homes ahead of time.
Yeah, my thinking was maybe Jason should handle the number.
Yeah, well, it looks like my co-conspirator was ready to keep the heat with me. That might be a bit presumptuous, huh?
Did you talk, yeah, you talked with Charlie, and you talked
Yeah,
to,
we sat down for a couple hours.
and we have also talked, I think if the number came from you,
Yeah.
you would,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
'Cause I don't-
and that's fair enough.
That 50,000 I just threw out, that was just a guess.
Yeah.
Of what,
And that's what most everybody says it's in that neighborhood. I'm hoping it's.
but we
I'm
also,
hoping it's doable for 25.
oh jeez. We also need, anything added to rent.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Right.
That's also a factor.
That would be part of that what Sean asked for. I did it.
It was kind of like an ABC
Yeah,
scenario.
It's right here. I did it longhand
Yeah.
for 10 years.
Yeah.
I knew you had it. Just gotta get that down on, typed out, and even I'm sure
Yeah.
yourselves or Debbie or
Yeah,
whatever.
well,
put it
after
into a
I did it, I
spreadsheet,
found a calculator.
Oh,
That does it
cool.
automatically for you. But
Yeah, because you could look at, it would show us, what rent's gonna look like, projected out 10 years, rent with the 50,000 broken up over the 10 years.
yeah, the 50,000 is gonna be. I'm
With interest over 5 years.
possible.
That's what he said.
Yeah, but Jeff and I thought we weren't really interested in tacking that onto our lease.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no,
thought that-
I
I
wasn't.
think that was the consensus
Yeah,
of the
that's
board.
what I
Let's
thought.
try to
That's what
find
I
a way to
thought
fund
too.
it. Possibly
Find the 50 grand somewhere else,
a municipal loan.
or just
Someone
in
said
the
that,
budget
sure.
Well,
somewhere.
that's another thing I've been confused about is, cause Jeff owns the building,
Mhm.
so this is technically, we just rent.
Yep.
So where's the money flow?
Yeah.
Is it to Jeff, or is it to,
So with these commercial leases,
yeah,
from
It's right
how
here.
I've seen them done, because we're part of projects of people that are established in a unit,
yeah,
and they'll be presented, they'll say, hey, I want all my windows and doors done too.
yeah,
So then the leasing company goes and says, yep, we'll be happy to do that for you, but we need you to sign a 5-year lease
oh,
at this rate.
yeah,
Oh, well, what's the lease without it? And then all that money, like the reno cost comes off, so then the lease is much less, and the people can make the choice to, do that.
yeah,
It's just one way,
Yeah.
but then you're paying for each year, like the cost goes up a little bit
yeah,
by a certain percentage, and then you're paying that percentage on top of the, the build out, they call it the build out.
yeah,
Cause really it's for our needs specifically, and that's why, that can be done, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
here's a actual lease agreement. The tenant may at its expense improve the premises. Any structural alterations or substantial changes shall require the written consent of the landlord.
yeah.
And so it's fairly,
So Jeff gives us permission.
Yeah.
We bid it out, we pay the contractor.
we pay,
Okay.
we do all
I know
the
we're a little,
inspections.
I'm jumping ahead. I
No,
was just
but
thinking
it's-
about that the other
Yeah.
day, cause Jeff,
No, Jeff
owns the
could,
building.
he could contract it.
Yeah,
yeah,
And I wanna, before next week's meeting, I wanna give him
And
one
we-
last go on that.
and we pay him, and he pays the contractors, we just pay the contractor,
He would be the GC.
yeah, and then we pay him.
yeah, cause where this kinda stemmed from was, we had approved up to a prior board before Jason came on, like up to I think 22,000 something,
Yeah,
and then the election happened, Jason came on, this kind of changed, you felt like you could, get it done for less money and utilize volunteers, right? Something, so this whole thing's kind of been morphing, over the last 2 years, and
Yes,
then
it
now
did.
back to, cause it was an option, that was proposed to Jeff to, would he be interested in doing the build out of what we were looking at a couple of years ago, like just for improvements,
Yeah.
which had nothing to do with this other end of the building. Like
Yeah.
it just had to, like the current space and
Yeah.
making it more user friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I don't know, just thinking.
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. No, it's just funny. It's been tossed
Yeah.
around in so
Yeah.
many different ways. So
Yeah.
there is multiple, you know,
Yeah.
facets to it and different ways that it can be approached and
Yeah.
addressed. So
And Matt, we can get together anytime
Yeah.
between now and then.
What, next week?
Between now and next week,
Okay.
if you wanna run stuff by or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be a possibility, just yeah, like you said, knock out any gray area.
Yep. And I'd really encourage you to, you know, try and, you know, hook up to the TV ahead of time, like,
Yeah.
and just, you know, kind of go through stuff and,
Yeah.
you know, make those initial.
I can let you in the building anytime.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for
Yeah.
Debbie to be here, or if it works out on a Saturday.
Yeah, like there's like, I've been meaning to email the chief, like, if you look at current plan, top left corner, I have the office, that's Sergeant Bullhorn's office. That would be a new bathroom, so I was talking about, you know, the unknown factors, like, I don't think plumbing would be too big of an issue, cause we're just moving that bathroom
Yeah.
over a little bit, but it's a big space, so I was like, could we possibly put, you know, a stall and a urinal in there,
Yeah.
not just, you know, one singular toilet. So yeah, so that's like,
You know what, we gotta sit down with Chief
yeah,
between now.
yeah,
We need to
Oh,
do
I
it
haven't-
this week.
I haven't seen him forever.
Yeah,
I just been
because
emailing him.
part of that,
Yeah.
there's more to that.
Like that's just one question mark, like you see on
Yeah.
the second plan is a tiny little toilet and a tiny little, a 2x2 vanity,
Mhm.
it's like, that's a big question.
But he had mentioned something about lockers.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
potential locker room for a potential woman officer. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we talked about it a long time ago.
Yeah, we did, and he said how some PDs have
Yeah,
had
like,
to give up whole areas
yeah,
because they hired a woman and they needed a separate locker.
and like the public waiting room, you know, is there, you know, knock out the public, you know, what is
Yeah.
that truly, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's definitely some questions that,
And if there's any way, like even if it's not the perfect scale, it came up tonight, there's just that confusion.
yeah,
So if we can give us a complete picture of
That
the
rest of the
whole
wing.
space, yeah, and then kind of
Yeah.
show it
And-
so that it's like the affected areas,
Yeah.
you know?
And we have that.
I can possibly, I do have another program, it's a lot more user friendly, visually friendly, I can color code it and,
Oh, that'd be
or do a list, you know, cause this, some people see this and don't exactly know what's, you know, going on, so I could either,
Yeah.
I could color code it, I could do a list of, you know, bang, what are we fixing,
Yeah,
adding,
them speed up
yeah,
communications a lot, when a person can look
Yeah.
and say, oh, all the brown walls are staying there, they're not
Yeah.
moving,
Right.
and the red ones are.
so really it's just open up and add some stuff in here, in the
Yeah.
hallway.
That's
It's-
really
so
all
it's
it
not,
is.
like I said, but there is a lot, still some substance there to be,
You know, I don't know if you're on like any social medias or whatever, but like things go awry real quick. Like all it takes is one,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
like and then you're way off topic and
Yeah.
yeah. So the more we can include, the better off we're gonna be.
Yeah. And I should note that we, you know, me, Jason, the chief, we have, you know, we have tried to minimize demolition and addition, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of cost.
Very basic.
Yeah, so like, I mean, we could've knocked out every wall in here. But
Start all
we're
over
not,
again.
yeah, we're not trying to do that, we're trying to, you know, keep what we have existing. And luckily, I think things line up pretty well, and,
Mhm.
but, yeah.
So I'll talk with Mike and see when he's available.
Yeah, and,
You're typically only available evenings. Or
yeah, but if I had to
Saturdays.
leave work early one day, it wouldn't be,
Wow.
see, he works when I
hate to
work,
ask
so,
you-
I
Yeah, I
know,
hate to ask
I
you
know.
to give up work.
I know, but,
I'll
yeah.
see if he can be around towards the end of his shift. I
Yeah.
We'll talk after this. We'll talk tomorrow.
I wonder if Jeff would be available too,
Good.
or maybe.
Yeah.
He said he's okay with it, right?
What's that?
He said he's okay with what we're.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Is Bellows Nichols
yeah,
okay?
we had Jeff in
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Last week we had Jeff in.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was there to answer any questions.
Okay. I haven't.
Everything's on the up and up.
I haven't talked with him yet either. So.
We think, anyways.
Yeah.
Till next week.
And then it won't be on the up and up anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Any more questions, concerns?
No, I'm excited to see this. You
I
know,
know, me
it's been
too.
a long time coming. So
Yeah, I think.
I really appreciate your involvement, like over the last few months, and
Yeah.
getting this like kind of going in a good direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
said I don't mind one bit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just trying to help out.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Because like I said, I think they need it. It's certainly a now thing.
Yep.
The new building, like I said, 5, 10, 15 years down the road. But you know, this I think has to be done.
Yeah.
Something. I think we should have subs in there before the end of the calendar year. I think we got it. That's
Yeah.
wishful thinking, but it's.
Yeah.
And I'm more like, cause I've been working on this for almost a year and a half, and I'm thinking like end of August.
Maybe.
There you go.
Yeah. So the more prepared you are next week, the better.
Yeah,
End
exactly.
of August and 25 grand.
Yeah, tell us where the
There
money's
you go.
coming from.
He's a realist for you.
Yeah. Cool.
Back in the old days, it was possible.
So is there anything you need from us, or?
No, I think with Jason, I think we should probably meet with Mike.
We have to.
Yeah, definitely have. I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since our first April,
Yeah,
I think, May, April.
He doesn't come in on Saturdays.
Yeah.
He did a couple for us. Maybe one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, yeah, I'll prepare a presentation this weekend. Try to send it over Monday.
Yep.
Get any gray area, any questions answered before. And then yeah,
Alright.
be good.
Cool.
Awesome.
Alright.
Thanks so
Matt.
much,
Yeah.
Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Have a
Doing
good
an
night.
awesome
Yeah,
job.
you too.
Yeah, this looks really good.
Alright, so that is 7 next week?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll just make sure. Alright, thanks guys.
Cool. Good night.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Such a good kid.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Good night, Sue.
Night. You want me to run and tell Ron?
Yeah. Do we have a lot afterwards?
Some of the stuff we already know about.
Cause you can just keep minutes, right?
Yeah.
Alright.
These are the big items on the agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we went through the whole.
Yeah, we're
pretty much
done.
The whole packet.
For that and everything. Plus some.
Yeah, I know.
You
We
know-
added a few things.
It's crazy.
He's not here today.
No.
No, he didn't show up.
So I'm gonna make a motion to enter in a non-public session under RSA 91A3(2)(a) for personnel matters.